Caps for Sale. A tale of a peddler, some monkeys, and their monkey business. Told and illustrated by Esfir Slobodkina. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First, his own checked cap, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called,
"Caps for sale, caps for sale, 50 cents of caps."
One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and walked down the street, calling,
"Caps for sale, caps for sale, 50 cents of caps."
but nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody even wanted a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said.
"I think I'm gonna go walk in the country."
And he walked out of town, slowly, so as not to upset the caps. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," he said.
"That's a nice place to rest."
And he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put his hand up to feel if they were straight. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and on the very top, the red caps. They were all there, so he went to sleep. He slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. But before standing up, he felt his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. All he felt was his own checked cap. He looked to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked in back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, no caps. Then he looked up into the tree. And what do you think he saw?
Monkeys.
On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray cap, a red cap, a brown cap, or a blue cap. The peddler didn't know what to do. He looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked back at him. Finally, he spoke. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking his finger at him, "you give me back my caps."
"You monkeys, you give me back my cap."
But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said. This made the peddler angry, so he shook both hands at him and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps."
"You monkeys, you give me back my caps."
But the monkeys shook both their hands at him and said. Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot and said,
"You monkeys, give me back my caps."
But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said. By this time, the peddler was very, very angry. He stamped both his feet and shouted,
"You monkeys, give me back my caps."
But the monkeys only stamped both their feet back at him and said. At last, the peddler became so angry that he pulled off his own cap and threw it on the ground and began to walk away. But then each monkey pulled off his cap, and all the gray caps and the brown caps and the blue caps and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up all his caps and put them back on his head. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to town, calling,
Caps for sale, caps for sale, 50 cents a caps.
The end.